Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens, and we're back for another edition of 101 here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network and, of course, airing on Bowie Television. Hey, look, we're excited because this is draft week, ladies and gentlemen. We are 3 days away from the draft. And what we're going to do in the next couple of days is we're going to bring you mock drafts each and every day leading up into the draft. Today, I got my man, James Brown. Tomorrow, we got Lamont Thomas. The day after, we got Jay Quimby in the building, and then yours truly will finish it up on Thursday with my final mock. But today, we start with Mr. James Brown. So sit back, get you some popcorn, see if we about to make you upset with some type of pick that, or James is about to make you upset with some type of pick he decided to go with. Let's find out now next on 101, episode 165.
One, 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 one. One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to one-on-one at LegacyMaker Sports Network.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, episode 165 of 101 here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network. Of course, airing on Bowie Television. 35 away from 200. Oh, man. Whoever thought a COVID podcast would, for at least for me, go as far as it has been. But it's been a lot of fun in the process. And with me today, I got my partner in crime on Legacy on Fire joining me for some one-on-one. And I know y'all, Legacy on Fire, it's coming back. Your boy's been running. But we're going to bring it back here soon. And, of course, James, also the co-host of the J&J podcast with co-founder of the LegacyMaker Sports Network, James Quimby. Jay Quimby. Don't beat me up, Jay. But once again, everybody, we're glad to have you all with us. James Brown in the building. James, how you feeling, brother?
Feeling good, man. Like you said, draft season is here. We're 3 days out. This is the biggest event of the off season for the NFL, man. This is the one thing we all look forward to during this time of year. So I'm excited. Can't wait for Thursday night to see what really does happen. We finally get to see who teams actually pick, the mocks, and see if you got how many right out of the first 32. See if you got, your favorite teams pick right. It's the most exciting time of the off season. Can't wait to get into it, man.
Yeah, I think last year on our annual mock, which we're not doing this year, ladies and gentlemen, we're bringing you a little different style this year. But last year's mock, I think we got like 13 out of the 30. So we gave it a good shot. We have a good shot. It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
That might have been one of our higher years, though.
Yeah, because there was some years it was like 9, 6. Yeah. We've had some tough years here and there.
We're getting better.
It's always fun to go back and see like, ooh, we made that pick there. It's always fun to go back and take a peek at that. I might have to do that this evening. Well, before we get into that, now we got to hear from Mr. James Brown. James, today you've got your first round mock here on 101. And, this is the first time, I believe in a couple of years, if not in a while, that every team has a first round pick. It has been a while. So today we kind of get to go in there and dissect that. We're going to start with your first 8, James. And, I'm excited to see why and where you went with these players. Give us your first 8 and why.
All right. So like you said, man, this is the first time in the past couple seasons where each team has their own first round pick. Again, for our mock here, that's how we kept it. We didn't simulate any trades, even though it's draft night. You never know what can happen. I do feel like the phones are blowing up for certain teams, but for the sake of current standings, we're just going to keep it as chalk as it goes. So for number 1, I do have the Titans taking the best quarterback in this draft class, Cam Ward out of Miami. Again, we saw Tennessee last season, man. Will Levis just isn't getting the job done in Nashville. And Cam Ward is a guy where, honestly, the arm, the legs, he's the prototypical quarterback that you want right now in the league. He's got the arm to make all the throws. And when he does use his legs, it's only to extend the play to throw the ball down the field. He can scoot when need be, but man, he's trying to catch you over the top of those bombs. I feel like he can go to Tennessee. He still has Calvin Ridley. Maybe they can add some pieces later through the draft to kind of help him out. But I think the future could be bright for Tennessee with Cam Ward under center.
Yeah. Can't wait to see how that goes. Number two.
Number two, Cleveland Browns. We have them taking the Heisman winner, Travis Hunter, out of Colorado. Again, if you're Cleveland at this point, you kind of need a playmaker on, the outsides on both sides of the ball. You need another corner to pair with Denzel Ward because, again, I believe his deal's coming due. You don't know if you're going to extend him for that third contract. He has a tendency to be nicked up, but then also on the offensive side, you had a great weapon in Jerry Jeudy last season, but I think Hunter can kind of give you a little package spark on the offensive side of the ball. So I think the Browns, they switch it up a little bit. They take Travis Hunter at 2.
3, the New York Football Giants.
Yes, the Giants. So I believe the Giants do take Abdul Carter, who a lot of people believe is the best overall player in this draft, especially on the defensive side. I know a lot of people are saying, well, man, they already have Brian Burns. They already have Kayvon Thibodeau. But if you can add a guy like Abdul Carter, who just last season in college football was his first year playing on the edge. Before that, he was an off-ball linebacker. Think of the packages you can put together on that defensive side if you choose to keep all 3 of them, or if you choose to add Carter. At this point, you could choose, well, hey, do we flip Thibodeau for another pick? Do we flip Burns for some picks? So I think it gives the Giants a lot of versatility on that side of the ball, or it gives them some extra compensation should they want to go ahead and trade up, trade out, and make some things shake.
All right, the Giants go with Abdul Carter. At number 4, the New England Patriots. They had the number 1 pick heading into that last week and said, "Nah, we good." "Nah, we good."
And, Gerard Mayo, I think he gave the finger to the organization one last time on the way out the door about winning the game. And here at the 4th pick, I think with the top 2 guys in the draft off the board, it's not the sexy pick, but I think the Patriots take Will Campbell. Again, projected to either be a tackle or guard, depending on how you feel about his arm length. Came in sub 33 at the combine. On his pro day, he measured 33 exact. So I feel like it all depends on how your scheme works. If you're New England, do you want him on the left side as your left tackle, protecting your quarterback that you got last year in Drake May? Or do you want to kick him inside the guard to kind of help solidify that offensive line? Because New England, they just need players everywhere at this point. And so I feel like at this point, if you take Campbell, he's a plug and play guy wherever you put him at, whether it's going to be outside at tackle or inside at guard, and he's going to help keep your quarterback upright.
All right, so now we head to number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Maybe a very disappointing team in this top 5.
Jacksonville has been disappointing for a while, man. I mean, they had that one year where they made it to the playoffs with Trevor Lawrence, and he got paid, and it's just like they reverted back to the old Jags after that. But hopefully they look to get back on track by taking defensive tackle Mason Graham out of Michigan. I mean, again, the defensive line for the Jaguars, you have Josh Hines Allen on one end, you have Trayvon Walker on the other end, 2 great pieces when it comes to rushing the passer. How about giving them a guy up the middle that can help collapse the pocket to help Hines Allen and help Walker get home? So I like them taking Mason Graham out of Michigan. We know him coming from Michigan. He was a Harbaugh guy. He's going to be a fighter. He's going to help you dominate the trenches. I like Jacksonville taking Graham at 5.
Number 6, the Vegas Raiders.
So here, I think this is one of those spots where we could start to see, the mock kind of deviate from what might actually happen on Thursday night. A lot of people like Ashton Genty here to the Raiders because, with what's my guy? With Pete Carroll coming in and taking over, we know he loves to run the ball, play defense. But Pete's a defensive guy at heart. He's a defensive coordinator. He's a defensive coach. I have them taking who I believe is the best corner in the draft, Will Johnson. Again, he was nicked up this past season, but put on the tape from the year they won the national championship. When Will Johnson's on the field, he locks down that side of the field. I believe he can be that lockdown guy for the Raiders who need help on the defensive side of the ball. We know you got Max Crosby. You can use the guy in that secondary to kind of help get Max an extra second or 2 in coverage. I think Johnson can be that guy for the Raiders, and so I have him taking him at 6.
All right. At 7, we have the New York Football Jets. New head coach, another new regime happening in New York. It's been a long time. 2010, to be exact, since the New York Jets made the playoffs. They are currently the longest NFL team or franchise to have have not made the playoffs. They have made the playoffs in 15 years. Where did they go to change this thing around?
I mean, the Jets are one of those teams, man, where we're always just like like if you look up dysfunction in the dictionary, the Jets are one of the logos that are there. And then this offseason with a new regime coming in, new quarterback coming in, Justin Fields, I think the Jets take Tyler Warren out of Penn State, a tight end who honestly is, I think, more of a, I guess, well, they don't have a star on the offensive side of the ball, but like on defense. But I feel like he's a little bit more than a tight end. You can play him on the tight end on the line. I feel like you can put him in the slot. You might can split him out wide. So I believe he's more of an X factor for you on the offensive side of the ball. But for younger quarterbacks, what do we always hear? We hear that the tight end is a safety blanket or a safety net for those younger quarterbacks.
Yep.
While Fields has been in the league for 5-6 years at this point, I still look at him as one of those younger guys who's still developing, who's still looking to, grow and understand and learn the offense. And if the Jets give him that opportunity this season, which I don't think he's had a lot, especially in Pittsburgh, I don't feel like,
Right.
he got the best opportunity. I feel like the Jets can give him that. And one way to show that is by getting him an offensive weapon to pair along with Garrett Smith and adding Tyler Warren.
Yeah, and I think also you don't have to, with him starting there, I don't think there should be anybody really looking over his shoulder. He had to deal with Russell Wilson looking over his shoulder last season. At number 8, the Carolina Panthers.
So I have the Panthers taking Jalen Walker, another defensive player who the media and everybody seems to hype up and like a whole lot. Again, Georgia Bulldog. Lately here, Georgia's been on a streak when it comes to defensive players that they're putting in the league, especially in the first round. A lot of people are high on Walker. Me personally, I don't see it as much. I feel like he's more of a luxury piece on the defensive side of the ball.
Mhm.
I don't think he should go this high, but I feel like the Panthers are one of those teams where they're looking to add to the defense. They're falling in love with him. I feel like he's going to be somebody who can come in, and if the scheme is correct and the pieces around him play well, he can be the X factor as far as generating that pass rush. But again, you got to remember he's a little bit more on the slider side when he's about 6'2" and maybe 250. So he's a smaller guy. And so if you're dependent on him to be your main pass rusher, I think that's where you can run into some issues with his play, especially at Georgia. I mean, he's had guys around him on the defensive line, another guy that we'll talk about later in round 1, his teammate. But again, like if the pieces around him play well and he's able to stay clean and actually, use his speed to power to get past tackles, I feel like he can be a good player. But I mean, I feel like he's boom or bust.
It's interesting. And this just popped in my head, and I probably shouldn't even say this out loud, but Georgia players with the last name Walker in the last couple of years, Quay Walker, was it Javante Walker that's down in Jacksonville? Was the first pick a couple years ago. He's also a Walker, if I'm not mistaken. And now we have another Walker.
Oh, yeah, Trayvon Walker.
Trayvon Walker.
And now Quay Walker.
Quay Walker.
Trayvon's coming on as of late. But
yes,
I ain't gonna lie, that first couple years was rocky.
It was rough. It was
rocky.
So, and of course, probably one of the greatest Georgia players of all time, Herschel Walker. I don't know if these are Herschel's kids, but I do have concerns. There's a lot of Walkers, coming out of Georgia and just happen to go down there and making things happen. All right, so here's.
I don't know if Herschel was getting around like that, but
I don't know, man. Herschel's a little controversial. So there's 1 through 8, and just a couple questions on this 1 through 8. Travis Hunter, in a lot of people's eyes, is the number 1 player in this draft. Is there any way that you see Tennessee shocking everybody and going with Travis Hunter number 1?
No. If I'm Tennessee, quarterback is where we saw last year your team kind of fell apart at. It all started and ended with a quarterback. How many games did Tennessee look competitive in until Levis did some duckhead interception move? I mean, go back to week 1 against the Bears. Tennessee had that game in the bag, and then Levis comes out and Shaqtin' the fools it, and next thing you know, the Bears flip it and get their first win of the season, and Titans fans are sitting there, look, what the hell just happened? So me personally, I feel like there's no way the Titans say, oh, Travis Hunter can fix that issue. No, only a quarterback can, and the best quarterback in this class is Cam Ward. So if you're looking to resolve the Levis situation, if you're looking to kick Mr. Mayo out of Nashville, you do that by drafting Cam Ward.
It's funny. I can't even think of it just would. I can't remember which game it was. Which game was it where it might have been the Bears game where he kind of like fell or did some type of like dive near and there was nobody around him.
That was the Bears game. Like
was it the Bears game?
The dive fumble, and it's just like,
so
dude,
bad.
what the hell are you doing?
It's so bad. And look, there was more. I ain't gonna lie to you. Last year when we started the power rankings on 101, I had him as one of my potential breakout stars. Boy. I
breaking out to the bench.
I did not do well on that list this year. Usually I have like a one or two players. I think I only had one, and that might have been like Kobe Turner. Everybody else was like either they started off great or finished bad, or it was just up and down. I had Brian Robinson. He was making me look good middle part of the season, and then it just all went away. One last one here. The Giants. The Giants. What's the best case scenario for the Giants here? Who do the Giants
best case scenario?
Who do the Giants really want?
If I'm the Giants, I really would like Cam Ward, but again, I don't see him getting past one. If he does happen to get past one, if you're Cleveland, I definitely don't see him getting past two. But the best case scenario for the Giants would be Cam Ward to fall to 3, and then they take him to sit behind Russell Wilson
right
until he takes over as QB1 for the New York Football Giants. That would be the best case scenario if I'm running the Giants. Because again, we all saw Hard Knocks last year.
Yeah.
Joe Shane's son told him, you trade up, you take Jaden Daniels. The Giants didn't do that. So now they're looking for their guy again this year.
In the same exact spot, if I'm not mistaken. They were number 3 last year, weren't they?
No, they were 6.
5. They were 5.
Yeah. 5 or 6. Because they ended up taking Neighbors. I think it was 6.
That's right. They were 6 because they had the first 3 teams drafted quarterback, and they needed one, and they didn't make the leap. Boy, oh boy.
Did not make the leap. And now they're playing against the guy they should have left for twice a year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's gonna be rough.
It's rough in New York.
It's gonna be rough in New York. Now we swing over to 9 through 16. And this is the first, not a first, well, at least first of ones I've done so far. At number 9, the Saints. Derek Carr nicked up. There's a chance he does not play this year. Where do the Saints go at number 9?
So first shock, major shock of the draft. I'll have the Saints going quarterback, but not for Shedeur Sanders. For Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss, Kellen Moore taking over in New Orleans now. The type of quarterbacks he's worked with in the past, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, all guys that a little bit bigger stature, definitely a little bit more stronger arm than I believe a Shedeur Sanders has. I think the Saints swing for the fences here and take Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. They have the guys in Chris Olave, Raheed Shaheed, where they like to throw the ball deep down the field. And if Kellen Moore kind of keeps that instituted in his offense, you're going to need a quarterback that can launch those bombs. And I feel like for them, with Ward being off the board, Jackson Dart is going to be the guy that they look to kind of bring into New Orleans groom. I know a lot of people will say, well, hey, they just took Spencer Rattler last year. Spencer Rattler was like, what, a 4th, 5th round pick? Those guys get replaced every season. I feel like Jackson Dart could be the guy they fall in love with and believe to help take them back to the Super Bowl they won with Drew Brees. So I think Jackson Dart is the guy for New Orleans.
Yeah, and Rattler had his chance towards the end of the season to kind of show if he could be that guy and them not even think about drafting quarterback at number 9. At number 10, the Chicago Bears.
The Bears. So the Bears have really taken their off season to fill a lot of their needs through free agency, with trading for Joe Tooney, trading for what the other guy, I think it was Brooks. They traded for another guard. In free agency, they signed an Alex Mack to solidify the offensive line. So at this point, the Bears' offensive front is pretty stacked to keep Caleb Williams upright. You have DJ Moore on the outside. You got him Rome Odunze last year. You have Cole Kmet at the tight end spot. But your offense still needs another punch to kind of help Caleb Williams when the passing game just isn't working. And who better in this draft class than Ashton Genty? I mean, we saw this guy rush for over 2,000 yards this year. And I know everybody will say, well, hey, it was Boise State, the level of competition. Screw that. Somebody was in that jersey collecting those 2,000 yards. I know he's a smaller guy, standing at only like 5'8", but man, is he a load coming down the field? I think he's more of a Maurice Jones-Drew type. I know a lot of people have a lot of different comparisons, but for me, I see more Maurice Jones-Drew, a smaller running back who, wasn't necessarily a blazing fast guy, but could still hit you for 80 yards to the house and break a couple tackles in the pursuit.
Something I don't want to see. Something I don't want to see. At number 11, the San Francisco 49ers.
Breaking off Craig Walker for one of those touchdowns.
Man, the boy. No, man. I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about it. At number 11, the San Francisco 49ers, picking quite high in this draft. Where did they go?
So yeah, the 49ers not really used to picking this high in the draft. They're usually used to those late 20s, unless they were to trade up. But had a rough year last season. This offseason kind of did a little bit of a reboot, shipping out Debo, losing Dre Greenlaw, Hufanga. So they're resetting a little bit or rebuilding it. I think they take offensive tackle Armand Membu out of Missouri for a couple reasons. One, in college, Membu was a right tackle. You could start him off at right tackle and eventually maybe see if he can kick his way over to the left side to replace an aging Trent Williams. Right now, Trent is still at the top of his game, but Father Time beats everybody. And again, he is on the back half of age 30. I think he's going to be, 35, 36 this upcoming season. And so, and taking Membu, you have a guy who can start off now for you on the right-hand side at right tackle and then maybe develop into that replacement for Trent Williams. Or worst come to worst, you can still kick him inside to guard. So I believe he's another one of those offensive linemen in this class that has that versatility to where, yes, he can play on the outside, but if you put him out there and it doesn't work, you can kick him inside and he can still be a plug-and-play guard for you for the next 10 years.
Yeah, you definitely got to protect potential long-term quarterback Brock Purdy. That still
if you're going to make that investment, you got to protect him.
Yeah, you got to protect him. You've already given away some valuable pieces. And then there was whispers of Ayuk even after they decided
I think they want to trade him. They just couldn't.
They do. And I think here's the crazy part about it. They done went through the season. He gets hurt. And now they're probably thinking, we done paid this sucker all this money.
We done paid him all this money. He done got hurt.
Yep.
Couldn't finish the year. Now we got to pay Brock more money than we paid Ayuk.
And it's
like for the 49ers, they had the season from hell last year.
Yeah.
The rookie first-round pick, Ricky Pearsall, gets shot. Thank God he made it, survived, and was able to come back and play. But last year was just, a nightmare of horrors for the 49ers. They're looking to bounce back and be, the more traditional sense of themselves this upcoming season.
We'll see if they're able to figure that one out and try to get a building block piece there. Next, we have America's favorite team, according to a lot of people. The Dallas Cowboys sitting at 12, coming off of a rough season themselves.
So at 12, I don't think it's any secret. The Cowboys need a passing option or receiving option outside of CeeDee Lamb. Regardless who was under center last year, whether it was Dak,
Cooper Rush.
Who was back? Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
Even if Trey Lance got a sniff at the ball, everybody knew where it was going. 88. Because he was the only guy that could get open on a consistent basis. He was the only guy that, if he caught the ball, or when he caught the ball, could make any plays with it. And I don't know if it was just failure to utilize the rest of the pieces or the other pieces just didn't work. But I got the Cowboys taking Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas. Again, a little bit more of a compact size guy at about 6 foot, 200 pounds. So I think, you can put him in the slot, or you can have him work the outside and stretch the field and have CeeDee Lamb work the slot for you. But surefire hands, he's a guy that can help you stretch the field, and another reliable target that can actually get open, separate, and make catches and make plays for Dak Prescott. Because again, you've paid Dak $60 million a year, highest paid quarterback in the league on an average annual basis. You need to get him somebody else to throw to other than CD. It was too predictable last year. Matthew Golden coming in. He's already in the state. He's already familiar with the area. Just bring him on in, put the star on his helmet. Put the star on his helmet, line him up, and let him play.
Yeah, that it'll be interesting to see. A lot of people think running back could be here. We also could see a receiver. There's offensive line. You know, you lose one of your all-time greats at offensive line, so it'll be interesting to see what
Dallas has a
Dallas.
lot of ways they can go, but by paying Dak 60 mil, I think you got to get him another target to throw to.
And then you still got to worry about old Michael Parsons waiting for his dough. A lot, it could be a long
It's a lot
time.
to be paid in Dallas. I don't know if everybody gonna get broke off, but so
Yeah,
far Jerry's made it work.
yeah. There's a part. There's a part of me that thinks Parsons.
Even passing out the cash.
Yeah, I think Parsons is going to get traded. I think they're going to wait till it's going to be a very last minute thing, but that's how I think that ends up happening. At 13, the Miami Dolphins.
So yes, the Dolphins. I have them taking offensive lineman Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. Two Longhorns going back to back. But with Banks, again, he's another one of those versatile offensive linemen. At Texas, he did play on the outside at left tackle, but a lot of people believe in the league his spot could be guard. If you're the Dolphins, you'll take him anywhere on the offensive line because Tua is your quarterback. You've paid him, and you have to keep him upright. You have to, because we've seen time and time again when he is not protected due to the concussion issues, the head injuries. If he's not under center for them, their whole season is derailed. You've already paid him. You've invested the money into him. Invest in protecting him. Invest in the big guys up front, keeping his jersey clean. Kelvin Banks can do that for you. Whether you put him outside at left tackle, whether you try to flip him to right tackle since Tua is left-handed, or you can use him at guard. You have to find a way to improve the offensive trenches if you're the Dolphins, so you can keep your quarterback healthy and upright, so he can get you through a whole season and potentially get you to a playoff or wild card spot.
Yeah, and then it doesn't help that you lose Terry and Armstead as he decides to retire. So you gotta load up,
You
and
got to.
you
gotta
gotta
protect Tua.
load up. You gotta make sure
You
that
paid
man
him, protect him.
got to. At 14, a very interesting team, I will say, the Indianapolis Colts at 14.
So the Colts, another team where they could look to go a few different ways. They could look offensively. Do they look to get a security blanket for what's Richardson? What's his first name? God,
Oh,
Richardson, number
yeah,
5.
Anthony
Do
Richardson.
they look Anthony Richardson? Do they look to get him a security blanket and a tight end and Colston Loveland? Do they look to improve the defense? Here I have them improving the defensive side of the ball, taking Jahad Campbell, number 1 linebacker in the class. But he's one of those guys where a lot of people believe not only can he play off-ball linebacker for you, but in a pass rush situation, 3rd and long, you might can slide him to the edge and have him rush the passer. Again, he's about 6'3", 240, 250 or so. And in a pass rush situation, a lot of people believe he can be a guy who can help you rush the edge. Me personally, I see him more as that off-ball middle linebacker style. But if you're the Colts, you can use some more playmakers on defense. Again, you took Latu last year. Quiddy pay, you got to see if you're going to pay him or not. But you need guys on that side of the ball to kind of help Richardson get some more possessions to see what he can do with the rock. So I have him taking Campbell. Solid defensive player. Even if he is the middle linebacker for you, you got your guy commanding the defense for the next 10 years.
Hey, look, we know they got your guy over there, Latu. that was your
Latu, man. I
that was
mean,
your guy.
rumor has it they wanted to trade up for him after grabbing Penix last year, but they couldn't make it happen. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean that's the part. That's the part. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Oh yeah, the microphone decided to take a little jump there. I don't know what happened on there. So we got the Colts going with Campbell now to a team that's near and dear to your heart. The Atlanta Falcons. Will they not trick us this year and go with what they need this time around, James?
So the Falcons, man, as everybody knows, they're a team where a lot of people think they're going one way and they finesse you into another decision. Last year we saw where, everybody's like, Falcons have got to take an edge. They got to go with a pass rusher. They needed a pass rusher for the last 10, 15 years. They haven't had one since John Abraham. They took Michael Penix. And everybody said, what the hell are they doing?
Why?
But hindsight, being 2020, seeing how Kirk Cousins left us high and dry after taking us 6-3, he gets blasted in New Orleans, hurt down the stretch. We fumble the season away. Michael Penix comes in with a chance to save the season and get the Falcons to the playoffs. And goddamn, the defense didn't let us down again.
Yeah, crazy
Last
stuff.
3 games of the season, he beats the Giants. He ties it up against the Commanders, only for us to lose in overtime because the defense can't get a stop. Week 18, ties it up against the Panthers to send it to OT after making some miraculous throws. Defense can't get a damn stop. I believe this is the year that the Falcons do one of two things: take an edge rusher or trade back. I feel like that's their only option. Here, since we're not doing trades, I had them take the pass rusher, Mykel Williams out of Georgia. A guy who familiar with the state, familiar with the area, already looks good in red and black because he's wearing it in college. We're just going to inverse a little bit more black, a little bit less red. You already know looks good on you. Staying local. I think they take Williams, man. Again, he's a kid where he's a bigger frame and about 6'5", 260, 270. Last year did play with a high ankle sprain, so it did impact his production. But I feel like he's a guy who from day one can come in and be an impact player on that defense. With them taking on Jeff Ulbrich as a new DC in Atlanta, they want to run a little bit more of that multiple front. That was a big word for him in his press conferences, multiple, whether it be 3-4 looks, 4-3 looks. And I feel like
Multiple.
Walker has honestly got multiple. Hot trigger word in Atlanta right now for defense, multiple. But Williams is the guy where, regardless, if you're running that 3-4 set or if you're running a 4-3 style, he can play on that defensive line for you. He can help come in from day one, stuff the run, but then also develop into that pass rusher. Again, young guy, isn't even 21 yet. I feel like the Falcons take Mykel Williams and develop him into their pass rusher of the future.
Well, we'll see if
Or
the
they
Falcons
trade back, or they just go left and break everybody's heart again.
Well, let's look for your sake. I sent you my pick, and everybody was like, "Please, God, no." And
all right, we're gonna talk about that real quick.
yeah, go ahead.
Pick, Luther Burden the third. You got a good heart. You really do. You tried to get Michael Penix another weapon. Here's the thing: we don't need it. We do not. We've gone offense the last 4
like 3
years?
or 4 years. Yeah,
You had Penix,
Robinson.
you had Bijan, you had Drake London,
Yep.
you had Kyle Pitts. That's 4 years of offensive picks. The only pick the Falcons should be making this year on the offensive side in round one is if one of the top tackles falls to them and you're just like, I mean, we got to protect Penix's blind side. That's the only offensive pick they should consider in round one. Outside of that, defense. Whether it's edge rusher, linebacker, safety, shout out Malachi Starks, defense. That's what we need in Atlanta.
Another Georgia guy.
Defense.
It's funny.
Hey, Starks is a dog, though. Not only because he played at Georgia, guy's a dog.
I'm going to have to send you the clip from me and Cody's episode the other day, and we talked about Atlanta and what you would do if the pick happens. I'm not going to tell you on air. I'm going to send it to you, and you're going to be like, yeah, that's about right. I feel like you're going to say that, yeah, that's about right. At number 16, we got the Arizona Cardinals.
At 16, the Cardinals. I have them taking Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas. Smaller guy at about 5'11", barely 200 pounds. But he's a thumper at a corner, man. I mean, again, I feel like you could put him at the nickel back, or you can have him play outside. He will give up some size to taller wide receivers, but I feel like he's a baller. He was a Thorpe winner this past year in college football. I feel like, again, he's better off suited playing that nickel or star position in the NFL, or worse from the worst, you can slide him back to safety. But if you're the Cardinals, I feel like you just need a few more pieces on the defensive side. Jahdae Barron's a guy from day one, plug and play. He can help improve your defense.
All right, there it is, 9 through 16. Now, I want to dig a little deeper why you decided Dart over Sanders. Now, a lot of people currently have Sanders going to New Orleans, but Dart has been moving up the charts here in the last couple of months. And I've heard some comparisons to the style of Drew Brees. Is that has anything to do with Dart going to New Orleans?
So no, I think Dart and Brees are a little bit different as far as quarterbacks. I mean, Brees was barely 6'1", a little bit more of that point guard distributor when it comes to the ball. Dart's a guy where he can put him behind center and he'll just sling it. You can let him throw it around the yard. And I feel like for Kellen Moore, that fits a little bit more of his play style, what he wants to do. As far as comparing Dart to Shedeur, I know Shedeur is probably the second best quarterback in this class. Me personally, I feel like he should be the second quarterback taken. But for whatever reason, whether it be because of his last name, because of who his dad is, a lot of people are starting to slide Shador Sanders down their draft board. Honestly, I know I didn't do it in this draft, but if I was the 49ers, and let's say the draft goes as I depicted it here, if I'm the 49ers at pick 11 and Shador Sanders is sitting right there,
Take him.
I'd tell Brock Purdy, hey, Brock, I got 3 years, 120 for you, fully guaranteed. Do you like it? If Brock tells me yes, if Brock tells me no, hey, Shador, if he tells me no, Shador, welcome to San Francisco. Number 2 is available. Let's plug and play. Let's get this joint going. Because again, a lot of people forget Shador Sanders made magic happen at Colorado with no offensive line
None.
and no run game. Look at a lot of those
74%.
Buffalo games where they were competitive, and even the games they won. It's because he was throwing the football. It's because he was slinging it around the yard. And for whatever reason, people have forgotten that. People believe that he's some spoiled nepo baby kid, and it's like, no, Shador has earned everything he's gotten to this point. He's earned the right to be a first round pick in the draft. And I personally believe he is the second best quarterback in this draft. And you could argue he's the first because if you give him an offensive line, if you give him a solid run game, we saw in college he can read the defense, he can distribute the football, he can make plays. He just needs protection up front, which all quarterbacks need, and he needs a run game, which all quarterbacks benefit from. So, me personally, I believe he should be the second quarterback off the board. I think the league views it a little bit differently, but that's my take. Shador should be the second quarterback taken. And I feel like he's going to shock a lot of people, whether he is taken second or a team trades back up to snag him somewhere,
Right.
maybe a Cleveland to pair him with Travis Hunter. But for my money, Shador is the second best quarterback in this draft.
Yeah.
He's not being treated as such by everybody.
And it may
But
work out to
that's
his
my
benefit.
take.
It may work out
Oh,
to his
yeah.
benefit because if he's going to fall, if there's a lower team back there in that bottom half that maybe quarterbacks, maybe like the Pittsburgh, that where the quarterback is a little unstable, but everything else around you is pretty solid. It could be a win-win situation. And hey, man, the guy just had his number retired at Colorado. Don't know how I feel about that. I will say though, Hunter, yes, definitely deserves it. You win the Heisman, your name goes up there forever. Sanders, great year. I don't know, but I mean that's just me.
That one, a lot of people say, oh, he got that because he his daddy's son. But look, the guy still had to play, put up numbers. I get that he didn't have all the success that a lot of other buffs have had, or even past buffs that have their number retired. Maybe this is the way of bringing some of those guys back into the fold that Dion has. I feel like Dion's always got a plan. This may be part of it where it's like, oh, you guys are outraged that nobody else's number is retired. Well, let's get these guys back in the program. Let's get them back in the building. And now we can make that happen. I feel like there's always a bigger plan when you're talking with Dion.
Yeah, Dion's very slick. He's very smart, very strategic in what he does. So that's picks 9 through 16. Now we head to 17 through 24. There's some playoff teams in this mix. The Bengals, one of those teams that fought hard towards the end of the season, but just ran out of time and could not make the playoffs. They do sign Barrow. They do sign Chase. Or Barrow's already signed. They can bring in Chase and Higgins. They got them locked and loaded. But now they got problems with their big man, with Trey Hendrickson. Where did they go at 17?
So, like you said, the Bengals have issues on the defensive side of the ball. We saw multiple games last year where Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins had to just put up 40, 50 points just to be competitive in the game because the Bengals defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. And now their number one pass rusher, Trey Hendrickson, he does want out. He wants a new deal. It doesn't look like Cincinnati is going to give it to him. It doesn't look like they found a trade partner yet. I have them going with Mike Green because if they can move Hendrickson, Mike Green can come in and be another pass rusher on that rookie deal to kind of help reset the defense. Or if they manage to sign Hendrickson, you now have a running mate or a guy you can pair with him on the opposite side in Mike Green. Again, I know he's from a smaller school coming to Marshall, but he led the FBS in sacks at 17 this season. Again, while he is going to a small school, he's not a small guy. 6'3", 250 pounds, a lot like physically built like Khalil Mack. Power rusher, can turn it to speed. And we've even saw at the Senior Bowl where he beat a lot of the top tackles in this draft. And so I feel like Mike Green is a guy where, he's got some off the field concerns, where, some people may have some questions about that, or some teams may have questions about that. But if that part looks good to you, the production, the pass rush looks good to you, you can add him to your defense in Cincinnati and kind of help reset that side of the ball.
It'll be interesting to see if the Bengals go defensive heavy. They definitely need it. Mike Green, former UVA Cavalier, definitely could have used him this year. Definitely could have used him this year, but went on to Marshall and had some great things go there. At number 18, the Seattle Seahawks on the board.
So yes, I have the Seahawks on the board at 18, taking Gray Zabel. I know it says tackle, but he's going to be a guard at the next level. Again, he definitely has shorter arms, so he's more suited to play that inside at the NFL level. Again, if you're the Seahawks, you just brought in Sam Darnold. Your offensive line last year was a little shaky. Bring in a guy to help solidify it, because by investing in Darnold, you pay the quarterback, protect him. Again, you did send out DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, so maybe wide receiver could be an option. But I feel like, keeping Jackson Smith and Jigba, adding Cooper Kupp, there's some guys later in the draft that you can add to that wide receiver core. There's not a lot of guys later in the draft that you can add to that offensive line. So
Right.
help keep Sam upright, help clear some holes for Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Gray Zabel can help you do that.
It'll be interesting to see how Seattle looks next season. At number 19, we finally hit our playoff teams. Number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, losing to the Commanders in the first round. I'll be honest with you. I thought that Tampa, if they'd have stayed healthy throughout the year, I didn't think they would be the 1 seed or the 2 seed, but I truly thought they had enough talent to make a Super Bowl run. They beat, if I'm not mistaken, they beat the Eagles. I think they beat the Eagles. If they didn't, but they definitely beat
If they
the
didn't, it was
Lions.
close.
Yeah,
they definitely beat Detroit early in the year.
They beat the Lions. They beat the Commanders. So these are teams that were in the playoffs that they beat and knew how to beat. So this time around, they're at 19. The last time they picked at 19, they picked O.J. Howard a few years back. Where did they go with this time? I know, right?
Yeah, that's pretty ominous that you said that, because again, I've been taking Shamar Stewart here, and he's a pass rusher out of Texas A&M, but he's another guy where, like O.J. Howard, it could be boom or bust. If he hits, you have an athletic freak on the defensive line that can help generate pass rush and sacks for the next 10 years. But again, it's a big if. At Texas A&M, he averaged 1.5 sacks the last couple years in playing there. And again, there's not a lot of production, but when you look at his tape, he does get in the back. He penetrates the pocket a lot. He just doesn't get any sacks. He's explosive in the run game. He just doesn't get any sacks. And again, for a first-round pick, you would love to see that sack total be a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got all the freaky measurable traits that you look for in a defensive end. I mean, 6'4", about 270, 280 pounds. And he was flying down the track at the combine. Now, again, we know, ladies and gentlemen, the game is played in helmet and shoulder pads. He's an athletic freak. If you take him at 19, if you're the Tampa Bay Bucks, you're hoping that athletic freak translates into a football freak, maybe like a Javon Curse the freak, and he can get to the quarterback in Tampa Bay. So I haven't taken Shamar Stewart. If he hits, dynamite. But it's a little shaky.
Just a little shaky.
We'll see.
We'll see where the Buccaneers go with that one. At 20, a team that made the playoffs last year as the 7th seed, losing to Buffalo in the first round, had us thinking that they might pull off an upset, and then they just fell apart or just didn't show up the rest of the game. The Denver Broncos, where did they go here at number 20?
Yeah, man, like you said, the Broncos had a surprising season last year. Bo Nix coming on, really taking over the quarterback spot for them and kind of willing them in a way to the playoffs behind that defense as well. Definitely put some money on them in that Bills game, just on a hope and a prayer. Definitely lost some coin that day.
Just a little bit, just a little dough.
Believed a little too much, but I think in the first round here, they get Bo Nix some help. And Omarion Hampton, the running back out of Carolina, who some people argue is the best running back in this draft class. Again, he's definitely taller than Genty, a little bit more explosive than Genty. And if you can pair him up with Bo Nix and the passing game that Sean Payton brought in last season, I feel like the Broncos can start to build that offensive juggernaut, kind of similar to what Peyton had when he was in New Orleans, running backs that can catch and run out of the backfield, wide receivers that can stretch the field, go over the middle, run the underneath stuff. He'll probably still need to add his Jimmy Graham in some way, form, or fashion. But I feel like the Broncos here take on Marion Hampton. Again, they lost Javonte Williams to
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah.
So they're going to need to replace their number one back. And I feel like they get that done here in Hampton.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't want Bo Nix to lead your team in rushing touchdowns. That's
You
something
don't.
that
It's not
you
the
know
best look.
it's not the best look. But he had a great season last year. And if there was no Jaden Daniels, he's more likely the rookie of the year on the offensive side of the ball. At 21, a team that currently doesn't have a quarterback. Their starting quarterback from last year, Russ Wilson, a New York Football Giant. Their other starting quarterback from last year, Justin Fields, decided, hey, I want to be in the same building that you are, Russell, and I am going to be with the New York Football Jets. So both Steelers starters from last year are now in Jersey. Quarterback here at number 21?
So, yes, the Steelers have lost both of their quarterbacks to the state of New York. For whatever reason, they decided, we don't like either one of you guys.
Right.
We know we signed you or traded for you last year to come in and play. Justin, we know you started off good for us, getting us, 3-1, 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Russ, we know you kind of helped finish the toe and get us to the playoffs. But we don't want either one of you guys back. We're actually going to trade for DK Metcalf. We're going to sign Mason Rudolph. And for whatever reason, we're going to go at Aaron Rodgers, a guy that's 47. We know he's not 47, but a guy that's 47, coming off his Achilles injury, even though he did look good towards the end of the year. For whatever reason, they still have eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket. Here I have them taking Shedeur Sanders. Again, I don't know if this is going to happen on draft night. I believe if Shedeur does start to slide down the board like this, teams will start calling the trade up. Maybe Pittsburgh is one of those teams, but they have to find a way to solidify the quarterback position for the long-term future. Again, you're playing the AFC North with Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. Who knows? Cleveland may get their act together at the quarterback position. You're going to need a guy who can come in there and help your team win games. We saw Shedeur do that in college. Now, I will say, if he does go to the Steelers, I would love to see them improve that offensive line. But what are the Steelers known for? Defense and run game.
Mm-hmm.
We know he's going to have a run game. We know he's going to have a strong defense. You have George Pickens. You have DK Metcalf. I believe they're a little bit more of the same guy, stretch the defense, long, mid to deep routes. I would love for them to add another guy that kind of work the slot, work the underneath. But if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and Shedeur Sanders is still on the board at 21, I feel like you have to turn the card in because you need a signal caller that you can depend on for the long-term future. Shedeur Sanders can be that guy for you. I would take Shedeur Sanders over Aaron Rodgers at this point in time.
Well,
one, because of the play on the field, but then two, I don't have to deal with the headache of Aaron Rodgers. I don't have to worry, is he going to run for VP or mayor of Pittsburgh and try to quarterback my team at the same time? I don't have to worry about, oh my God, we played the Ravens this week. Does Aaron need to go do a dark retreat to get ready to take on Lamar Jackson? Does Aaron need a hit of that Waska?
That Waska, baby.
Go and play the Bengals. It's a lot less headache for me. And, Shedeur is a younger guy. Shedeur is going to be playing the game of football a lot longer than Aaron Rodgers will at this point in their respective careers. I think he would be the better long-term option. Now, maybe you get Aaron Rodgers to mentor him. I don't know if Rodgers wants to do that, but if you want to be free from the chains of Aaron Rodgers, you take Shedeur Sanders and you don't look back.
Oh, they got to sign him first. Aaron looked like he's taking forever again. So who knows? He has been thrown.
He's probably on another dark retreat.
He's already been thrown with DK Metcalf. So we'll patiently waiting to see if that actually happens. At 22, the Los Angeles Chargers.
22, I got the Chargers going Colston Loveland. No big surprise here. Jim Harbaugh, former Michigan head football coach, won a national championship. One of his guys on that national championship team, Colston Loveland, another guy who can come in, hard-nosed, hard-grit football player, play in the tight end spot, whether you want him to chip off the line, whether you want him to run for open screens, whether you need him to block in the run game. I feel like Loveland is a hardball type guy. I feel like you can add him to the offense in LA, where we saw last year again. Justin Herbert, kind of like the Cowboy situation, didn't really have a lot of dependable options outside of Lad McConkey. You add Colston Loveland, safety net for Herbert, a guy who can kind of help when it's 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3 and you need that hot route guy. If Lad's covered, you can flip it over to Colston Loveland. He can get you a couple extra yards, maybe even break one for a touchdown. So I believe to help solidify their offense, Chargers go Colston Loveland at 22.
The Chargers pick up a tight end in the year that their tight end, their legendary tight end, Antonio Gates, heads into the Hall of Fame. Speaking of a team that has a player going into the Hall of Fame, my guy Sterling Shot, whoop, whoop, all day. I'm so hype about that. I can't even begin to tell you. But anyway, at 23, the Green Bay Packers, last year we made the playoffs. Team that at points you would say, man, they've got all the potential in the world, but it just ain't quite clicking when it needs to click. All the games they lost, minus the Bears game, to playoff teams. So it's just, where do they take that next step? Their receivers couldn't catch the ball last year. And a year removed from the year where their young wide receivers were showing off. Do they do the same route and get another young wide receiver?
I feel like you kind of have to if you're Green Bay, because again, you have Jordan Love, you have invested in the wide receiver position and taking Christian Watson and taking Jaden Reed, what Dontavion Wicks. There's a lot of capital that you've invested in that position, but as we've seen in Green Bay, it just hasn't always paid dividends just yet. Watson, incredible talent, electric when he has the ball, hasn't been available, often injured. I feel like the Packers need a guy that can come in healthy, reliable, and can truly be that number one target for Jordan Love. And here I have them taking who, to me, is the number one receiver in this draft, Tesharoa McMillan
T-Mac.
out of Arizona. T-Mac. Again, a little bit of a freaky athlete. Not the fastest guy, but at 6'5", he's moving. He's moving. And he's got wiggle to his game. He's not one of those tall, stiff jump ball receivers. He's got some wiggle to his game. He can help stretch the field, but I also feel, he can run all the routes on the route tree. He can kind of work the middle. He can work the underneath. I would say he's more Devontae Adams than he is DK Metcalf or Jordan Pickens. He can stretch the field, but I feel like he's more of a do-it-all receiver versus just the deep threat receiver. And again, if you're the Packers, this is a guy who a lot of people believe should be a top 10 pick. If he's available for you at 23,
got to take him.
I don't see how you just there shouldn't be any time. There should be 1 second off the clock before you go cards in. We'll take a T-Mac. Right, exactly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Green Bay goes here. There's a part of me that thinks they could go O-line again just to continue to secure that up. The only other spot I think they should go would be cornerback with Jair Alexander, and not knowing exactly where he is. There were talks of him being traded, so it'll be interesting to see where Green Bay goes. The last one here are 17 through 24. The Minnesota Vikings are on the clock.
Minnesota's on the clock, and in true Minnesota fashion, in the first round,
another defensive
take a defensive back. They take another defensive back. Minnesota, they're famous for doing it. I know a lot of Minnesota fans right now are just like, dude, what the hell? Another DB. But not just any DB. We're talking about the number one safety in the class here, and Malachi Starks out of Georgia. Again, a guy where you can play him at safety. You can play him at free safety. You can play him at strong safety. I know you got Harrison Smith. He's on the latter end of his career. You need somebody that can kind of come in and command the back end of that defense. Malachi Starks can do that for you. Even if you want him to start off in the slot, he has that versatility, coverage, and ability to play slot corner or safety anywhere on that back end of the defense. And while he is a DB, he's not just any other DB that you've taken. He's a hybrid model. You can put him anywhere on your defense, and he'll upgrade that position. So while it is a DB, Vikings fans, it is the DB. Malachi Starks.
Yeah, and look, Harrison Smith getting up there in age, you want to have that guy who can be the bridge to another great safety in Minnesota. All right, 17-24, a very tough group there. Now we head to the bottom of this first round, and we're about to wrap this thing up here. 25 through 32. At 25, the Houston Texans, a team that went into last year with a lot of expectations. We're talking about people thought that they could go to the AFC Championship game, maybe even go to the Super Bowl. CJ Stroud was in his stride. But a lot of things happened last year, a lot of injuries, especially at the receiver position. Then you lose a couple of O-linemen. Where do the Texans go here at 25?
So I have them replacing their left tackle and Laramie Tunzel with Josh Simmons, left tackle out of Ohio State. I know he ended the year injured, but he should be healthy, ready to go when camp starts. And again, we saw this Texans team down the stretch. They couldn't get protection for CJ Stroud. Even when he did have time to throw the ball, the receivers just weren't popping for him again. Again, you lose Diggs to injury. You lose Nico for part of the season to injury. You lose Tank Dill to another injury. I feel like if you're the Houston Texans, this class is packed with more receivers down the road that you can add, but you need a left tackle that can help solidify the blind side and protect CJ Stroud. So I have them taking Josh Simmons here. You got to keep Stroud upright because it doesn't matter who you have out wide at receiver if your quarterback's in the dirt.
All right. So there it is. Simmons going there to replace Larry Tunstall, which is going to be a tough task within itself. But we'll see if the Ohio State offensive lineman can do just that. At 26, a team that was on the cusp of beating the now Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs, the LA Rams. Where do they go with 26?
So when you look at 26, this is the pick where honestly the Rams can go in a lot of different directions. As you said, they were just on the cusp of almost another Super Bowl berth under Sean McVay, the second that would have been under Stafford. And I know a lot of people are going to look at this and scratch their heads, but I have the Rams taking Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama, because again, Stafford is what, 35, 36?
Mm-hmm.
But he's an old 35, 36. The man has warriored through a lot of injuries. And at this point in his career, while I still feel he can get the job done under center, the Rams should start to at least look for, hey, who can be that guy that can kind of learn from Matt, to kind of learn how to play quarterback in the NFL, to learn how to quarterback our system here in LA. We know Sean McVay can whisper to the quarterback and make magic happen. I believe he can take a project player in Jalen Milroe who has incredible athleticism, a beautiful deep ball, and help finish putting the puzzle together. Again, not the most polished, feet in the pocket, at times does make throws and awareness where you're just like, dude, what the hell were you looking at? How did you not see that DB? How did you not see that linebacker? I feel that if you can give him a year or two in LA under Sean McVay's tutelage, learning from Matthew Stafford how to play the quarterback position in the NFL, Milroe can be the guy to help lead you to the Super Bowl, help you win that Super Bowl. Again, he's an incredible athlete. We've seen him at Alabama make guys miss. We've seen him take it 40 yards to the house down the sideline. A little bit reminiscent of a Lamar Jackson type. Imagine that in Sean McVay's offense.
Whew.
He hasn't had that. But imagine what that offense could look like. Not to mention having a Devontae Adams, having a Puka Nacua, having the run game. We know McVay's teams have always been able to run the ball. So if you can get Milroe into your farmhouse, build him up, have him sit a year or two, and then take over, the Rams could dominate that division for the next 10 years. And that's saying a lot with Kyle Shanahan being another team in that division.
So that will be the part that will be interesting. But that's kind of, you watch this Rams team overall, they have done a really good job of rebuilding this team low key. A lot of great young talent on the defensive side of the ball. They've retooled their offensive line. They get Jerry Verse last year in the draft. They got Kobe Turner the year before in the draft. After
Brandon Fisk last year,
right? And so they got Cornell Lake. I think his name is. I actually talked to this guy at the Super Bowl 2 years ago, but Quentin Lake. He was another young piece on that team. They've got really good young pieces on this team. So this could be another one that sets the Rams up for the long term. At 26, the Baltimore Ravens. 27, excuse me, the Baltimore Ravens.
I got the Ravens taking Tyler Booker. Again, never a sexy pick to take an offensive lineman in the first round. Even less sexier when it's an offensive guard. But hey, if you're the Ravens, you don't have a lot of holes But you have guys up front that may be starting to get a little bit older, guys who you may need to change the pieces out a little bit to help keep Lamar upright in the pocket or help punch some holes for your running backs and Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, and Tyler Booker can come in and do that for you. Whether he's a plug and play starter from day one to where he allows you to move on from one of your veteran guys, or he kind of sits the bench for a year or two and then takes over. I feel that he's a good long term piece for you on a team that already doesn't have a whole lot of holes because the Ravens are always good when it comes to these drafts. Year after year, somehow they just seem to always figure it out. You can never really say the Ravens have had a bad draft. They just always seem to hit.
Well, the Ravens did lose a couple pieces on the line. They did sign Ben Cleveland back, but it'll be interesting to see if Booker can be another piece to help this Ravens finally get over the hump in the AFC. At 28, the Detroit Lions.
So Detroit. I have the Lions taking offensive guard Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State, a guy who last year did start the season off at guard, but once Josh Simmons went down to injury, was able to kick outside to tackle and actually hold his own out there on the outside. So this is a guy that, again, has that versatility to where you can play him inside or you can play him outside. The Lions already have two tackles in Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell, but if injury strikes, you kind of have a swing tackle, or you kind of have a guy that, in a pinch, you can kick outside, but then also you have a guy that can play alongside Decker or Sewell. So I like them taking Donovan Jackson here to help keep that offensive front strong and help keep Jared Goff upright. Because again, the Lions are one of those teams where they're on the cusp. They're right on the cusp of making a potential Super Bowl run. Jackson can kind of come in, help keep that offensive line solid to make sure that offensively things can continue to run well in Detroit.
Well, last year, tough go for Detroit. Number one seed, everything looked like it's going to go their way, and then Jaden Daniels.
Defensively, they took some hits, man.
Yeah,
it was some hits.
A lot of injuries last year. Just a ton of injuries for the Lions. Still really good most of the majority of the year, but when the playoff time came around, it was just too banged up. At 29, speaking of teams that beat the Detroit Lions last year, the Washington, I can't even believe I'm saying this, the Washington Commanders. Whew, are picking 29th in the draft. It's not because they traded up, ladies and gentlemen. It's because they actually won football games last year and made it to the NFC Championship game. Didn't do too hot in the NFC Championship game, but they made it there. Where do the Washington Commanders go with this pick, and how do they get a little bit better off of this pick?
So yeah, the Commanders last year, they hit. They popped. I mean, they took Jaden Daniels and never looked back. Jaden Daniels started on the center from week one, never looked back, got him all the way to the NFC Championship game. One area I do believe they can look to improve is the defensive side of the ball, specifically up front. I haven't taken Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M, a guy who transferred into A&M last season from Purdue, and I believe he can help solidify their offensive front. Again, they traded away Marcus Sweat. No, yeah, Marcus. I know it's left. Montez Sweat. They traded away Montez Sweat.
He's a Marcus
They let
Sweat.
Chase Young walk. They didn't re-sign Dante Fowler Jr. They let him go back to Dallas, I believe. And so you need a guy that you can kind of bring in and help play with your defensive tackle group. You took Johnny Newton last year. You still have Deron Payne. So the middle of your defensive line is solid, stacked, ready to go. Add a guy on the outside that can help rush the passer and can help feed off those collapsed pockets that Newton and Payne can bring. I believe Scorton can get that done for you. Again, was more productive in his time at Purdue than he was at A&M. But I believe if he flashes back to the Purdue side, you switch up how he played a little bit, scheme-wise from A&M coming into the league. I feel like he's a guy that can hit for you late in the draft. Again, we know Dan Quinn knows how to coach up and scheme defense. This gives him an additional piece to get that done.
So we'll see if
Washington should have done.
Yeah, Washington could go. Definitely, it looks like they will go defense here, but there are whispers of Travion Henderson out of Ohio State, the former Hopewell.
Whispers. Yeah, and I get it.
Yeah.
But I believe defense is a bigger concern for you.
Definitely agree with that. You want to continue to build that thing up there. But don't be surprised. They will go. I'm almost not gonna say 100%, but I'm about a 95% sure they go running back. If not first round, second round. It will happen really early for the Commanders. At number 30, the Buffalo Bills.
Bills, another team where, again, they're right on the cusp. They had the MVP and Josh Allen last season. Buffalo has always played well most of the time offensively. Defensively has been a lot of the years when they've gone up against the Chiefs where the defense has just let them down, where the defense just freezes and doesn't make a play, or the defense just forgets that there is a game that Sunday or that Saturday in the postseason. So I have the Bills shoring up their defensive secondary by taking Maxwell Hairston, cornerback out of Kentucky. Again, a guy who can definitely cover when it comes to big receivers, small receivers, a little bit more on the athletic freak side of the ball. But if you're Buffalo, you need to solidify your defense. You let Tre'Davious White go because he was getting older. He had a lot of injuries. You haven't really been able to replace him.
They brought him
Kyer
back.
Elam,
They brought him back the other day.
because they just don't have anybody.
It's like we
They
got to bring
tried with
it.
Kyer Elam, and he just didn't work out. They let him go, and I think they traded him to Dallas.
Right.
The trades that the Cowboys made, good God.
Sometimes I
But
just wonder.
whew, but adding Maxwell here, Maxwell Hairston, he's the guy that can kind of help come in, re-solidify the defensive back end of the ball. By bringing White back, you can kind of help coach Hairston up, show him the ropes in Buffalo, how DB is supposed to be played. Maybe, Josh Allen doesn't have to work so hard in the postseason to get a dub because his defense is starting to help out a little more.
Yeah, Buffalo is another team, just like Baltimore. Just how do we get past the Chiefs? Speaking of the Chiefs, at 31, the defending AFC champions, where did they go with this one?
So if you're the Chiefs, I mean, we all saw that Super Bowl.
Oof.
We've all seen the Chiefs offense the last couple seasons.
That was rough. It was rough.
Definitely rough. Definitely rough. Mahomes was definitely under pressure a lot. There were a lot of green jerseys in the backfield, piling on number 15, disrupting number 15. If you're the Chiefs, you would love for a good offensive tackle to slide down the board so you can jump up and grab them. I just don't think it happens. So I have them flipping the ball to the defensive side and taking Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan, a guy that can kind of come in, learn from Chris Jones, depending on situation, down and distance. You can either add the two together or, you can have Kenneth Grant come in and be that run stopper and maybe kick Chris Jones outside the defensive end, let him rush the passer there.
Mhm.
But Kenneth Green is definitely going to be a run plug, run stopper for you. He does have a little bit of pass rush upside, but he's basically going to be brought in to help stuff the run game, which, again, Chris Jones definitely getting older, a guy who has been stellar for the Chiefs, but it may be time to look to start finding his replacement. Kenneth Grant is a high upside guy you can bring in, learn the ropes from Jones, and kind of help establish the defensive line of the future for the Chiefs.
All right, the Chiefs get another D lineman to help out Chris Jones and maybe for Chris Jones to mentor another young player in this game. Now, last but not least, the defending. Can't believe they pulled it off. The defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles win their second Super Bowl in the last, 8 years. So they are the champions once again. Jalen Hurts gets a big monkey off his back. And they are able to get a Super Bowl win. But where did they go here? They did lose a legend on their part in Brandon Graham in the offseason. Do they replace Brandon Graham at 32?
So, yes, fly, Eagles, fly, defending Super Bowl champs. The Eagles are on the clock at 32. I have them taking Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Again, I know it says defensive tackle, but I believe due to his slighter frame, he can play anywhere along the defensive line. You can have him inside on pass rush downs to pair with Jalen Carter, and you can just have them both rush the passer with a Nolan Smith, with a Bryce Huff on the outside, and just have everybody just gung-ho NASCAR pack and just blitz the hell out of the quarterback. Or you can choose to run a defensive front of Walter Nolan, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and be covered, whether it's pass or run. But also, Davis, is going to be almost time to pay him. Do the Eagles want to do that? Or does Howie look to, find a fresher body, a little bit cheaper contract, and replace Jordan Davis with a Walter Nolan? look, Howie's another one of those GMs where, he always seems to just make the right move at this point in his
Always a
career.
step ahead.
So whatever he does, I'm pretty sure it'll be the right decision. But if I was Howie, I'm taking Walter Nolan with the way the board fell to me today.
Well, the Eagles finish up James Brown's first round mock with Walter Nolan, a name that a lot of people are excited about. I know I've heard a lot of great things about him. So I feel like he's going to make some team very, 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 very happy. James, before we leave here today, your 32 mock, a beautiful one at that. Out of all of the players that you drafted today, who are you most excited about seeing at the next level?
Most excited. Screw it. I'd say Shador because, again, the turmoil, the ridicule, everything he's gone through at this point when it comes to the offseason. Again, this was the guy who, when they were actually playing games, was viewed as, hey, the second best quarterback in this class, arguably the first. And to just see him slide down draft boards due to the offseason and how people perceive him, how people think he acts, how people think he is, instead of seeing how he plays the game. I'm pretty sure if you go back to Colorado and ask any of those guys that actually played with Shador, they could tell you how much of a leader he is, how much he commanded that offense, how much he was very much the straw that stirred the drink. And I personally can't wait to see what he does at the next level, regardless of where he goes. I just hope, wherever he goes, he gets a fair shot. He gets a chance to actually come in, learn, run the offense, and plays well, because he's earned it. But then also with all the ridicule he's faced, it's kind of good just to get that little old, stick the finger up and say, forget you, I made it.
It's going to be a fun time over the next, well, we got a couple days now, but the funnest 3 days of the NFL season are ahead of us on Thursday on ESPN and, of course, on the NFL Network. I'll be watching on ESPN, even though I like the Analyst better on the NFL Network. It's the nostalgia. It's the ding, 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 ding. It's the only thing that keeps me staying over there at ESPN for the draft. But it'll be a fun one. James, look, man, we thank you for coming on and giving us your first round mock. Is there anything you want to say before we get out of here today?
Oh, hey, man, appreciate the time. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in watching. Again, let us know in the comments, what picks did you like? What picks did you hate? Who do you want your team to select first round come Thursday night? Let us know in the comments.
All I know is just nothing crazy. That's all I ask for on my side. Just nothing crazy. Don't make me be mad at the end of the – or don't trade down out of the first round after I've been waiting all day to see my team pick. Don't do that. That's something it happened to me a couple years ago. I was hot. And so hopefully, and we did end up getting the first pick of the next day, but it's not the point, not the same, not the visual. But
it's a lot of investment, man. It's a lot of investment.
Man, like
there all night, have the TV up. I got the TV up on one of the networks, whether it's NFL Network. If I got that on the TV, I got ESPN on the tablet. I got the phone going. It's a lot of information coming in a lot of the different places. And to just see your team trade out of round one,
pissed,
and just be done for the night,
it's just upset.
It's a bummer. It's like, damn, I've invested all of this for nothing.
Right, and that's my thing. I don't want that. But hey, your team's gonna pick at some point. We'll see how it goes. Once again, everybody, it's my man James Brown here, my co-host on Legacy on Fire, and we're just glad to be able to bring you tomorrow. Lamont Thomas joins us for his mock draft, and the day after that, Jay, and then of course I will finish up on Thursday. Once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning into the LegacyMaker Sports Network. This has been episode 165 of 101, also airing on the amazing Bowie Television.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.